Pennsylvania is mopping up. Torn by furious floods that hit hundreds of cities and towns from Maine to Ohio, the Keystone State grimly sets about the task of rehabilitation. Back to the river goes a steady march of trucks, loaded with tons of debris washed up by the roaring waters. Scenes like these are duplicated in 13 states. Throughout the East, nearly 200 are dead, 500,000 homeless, and property damage reaches staggering sums. The worst flood disaster since the turn of the century, and one that caused President Roosevelt to put aside all other business to take personal command of the government's activities. Under instructions from Harry L. Hopkins, the Works Progress Administration's part of the job of reconstruction is immediately begun. In Pennsylvania alone, 110,000 WPA workers are at the task of relief. Over everything lies the brackish cloak of the mud, refuse of the flood. Slime-coated streets are scrubbed clean. Directing traffic on slippery streets is only a part of the emergency job, and victims of the disaster need help of all kinds to provide the essentials of life that were swept away by the waters. A bull in a china shop is nothing compared with a flood in a drugstore. And plows that for the short time before were clearing snow are now scraping gummy streets. Such dangerous debris as loose and dangling beams must be eliminated. It looks like an almost endless task to get rid of all this ooze. It sticks like glue, but this must be done thoroughly, for in the slime lurks the threat of disease. So down the drains in sludgy surrender go pollution and pestilence. It's the last mile for mud as trucks piled high take it for a ride. Placards bearing helpful safety instructions are posted throughout the stricken areas as the work of reconstruction goes on. For their self-protection, citizens are informed of the special precautions to be taken under emergency conditions to forestall the danger of infection. The pulverized stocks of merchandise, once the worldly goods that kept the business sections busy, are hurried away as trash to make room for new articles. Pounded into kindling, the possessions of the flood sufferers are almost beyond recognition. All kinds of agencies put their shoulder to the wheel. One company turns over its fleet of trucks for the distribution of water. Live steam was used to clear all gas fumes from the trucks, and now the huge rolling tanks dispense a fluid that not only gives plenty of smiles to the gallon. It's a different kind of fuel from that which they usually dispense. And food for the hungry. With the cooperation of the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, and other relief agencies, the WPA goes steadily on with the flood reconstruction program and the pressing problem of victuals. A long time ago, a little man who posed for most of his portraits with his left hand resting on a vest button decreed that an army traveled on its stomach. His name was Napoleon, and his edict is history, but it still goes. Steaming coffee stokes up the energies with a warming fuel that invigorates tired men. A man may be down, but he's never out is a slogan known to most of us, and it has never been more aptly proved than during this crisis. Wrenched and torn, the land presents itself in an ever-imposing problem. Here the flood produced a landslide and closed the road to traffic before the reclamation workers moved in. Steam shovels clear the way for the mop-up crews that will complete the job of opening this main highway to make easier the task of rescue parties and supplies to press through to isolated areas where flood victims are shut off from the rest of the world. These pictures show the effectiveness of WPA organization and action. But behind the scenes weeks ago, undramatically and quietly, Works Progress executives laid out their plans for swinging into action. Cities and towns made their best estimates, and $18 million worth of projects were approved in advance. A share for Pennsylvania was earmarked before the flood hit. But in its advance warning, nature had given no indication of the full extent of the impending fury. The president later increased WPA flood allotments for the nation to $43 million. To Johnstown, the scene of dire distress, aid was rushed to relieve the widespread suffering and losses. Sullen waters rose into the city to tear, pound, and dissolve buildings and their precious contents. Some of the damage can be estimated. but no yardstick exists to measure the vanished family keepsakes and personal possessions. Twisted and wrenched beyond recognition, these splinters were probably once part of a family home. And this incline railway lifted many grateful passengers out of the swollen river's reach. In the devastated zones, traffic gradually returns to normal, guided by WPA workers who serve in many and varied capacities, including such depressing jobs as uncovering the sad wreckage of water-battered automobiles. Owners of stores fully realize the meaning of the word perishable as they survey the soggy remnants of their goods, fixtures and furniture, soaked, swollen, and worn. Disposal of the refuse is a big problem. Whole sections have taken on the appearance of junkyards. This problem is partly answered by frequent trips to the river. That is where the debris came from, and much of it goes right back. Truckload after truckload disappears in the current, and it's good riddance to bad rubbish. With the housewife as with a merchant, business goes on, but not entirely as usual, although it certainly ought to be better when the cleanup job is done. It's mainly the physical possessions of man that have been lost, while the spirit of the survivor remains staunch and undamaged. Reclamation is the hardest job, calling for hours of persistent labor amid depressing surroundings. Courage is repeatedly demanded and repeatedly delivered. The WPA workers face a huge task, a task to be done efficiently and with no hope of special reward. Nevertheless, they welcome the job, for it's pay for work they're earning and not the dole. In low-lying sections of the city, marooned citizens cut off from food are rescued in small craft. The boats are rounded up by truck and launched at the nearest points to the stranded households. It's a job that calls for strong arms and steady nerves. No one knows what hidden obstacles lie beneath the waters. It's no place for the skittish, for sharp spikes and submerged debris are constant threats, and a shipwreck means at least an icy bath. And so the work of rescue goes on, just one of the many phases of flood relief undertaken by the Works Progress Administration. Refugees must be aided, brought to dry if somewhat muddy land, there to be fed and clothed and housed, or to receive medical attention if ill. In Lower Harrisburg, the floodwater remained the longest, holding back the job of reconstruction. No trains in, no trains out, while the inland sea held the business of transportation stagnant in the usually busy yards. The work of rescue carries on until all refugees have been evacuated from the high water areas, leaving the river in possession. With the echoes of smashing water still resounding, city and town officials, aided by WPA engineers, are checking the total damage. The giant strength of these torrents in a few hours destroyed structures that cost millions and took months to erect. Running in swift havoc, they left a huge task of rebuilding. As these major needs are calculated, WPA reconstruction crews take up this larger scale of restoration, then go on to projects of future flood prevention, in the hope that such scenes may never again occur.